In May 2024, I traveled to Nepal for a couple of months. There, I met amazing people, a fascinating culture, and experienced life-changing adventures. While in Nepal, I had one idea that kept coming back in my head: discovering the Himalaya and seeing with my own eyes the highest mountains in the world. For this reason, I went with my Nepalese friend Amir to Pokhara to hike one of the most famous treks in Nepal, the Annapurna Base Camp trail. A fantastic hike taking 5 to 10 days that leads all the way to the 10th highest peak in the world, the Annapurna one. After 2 days of intense hiking through forests and waterfalls, we were finally getting close to our final goal and the promise of seeing the highest mountains in the world. The road to get there was the hardest and steepest of the whole adventure. We had to face bad weather and exhaustion, but gods, it was worth it. Welcome to the final bit of our journey and the discovery of the Annapurna Base Camp. Morning, this is day 3 of the Annapurna Base Camp trek. I'm very tired because the people I was sleeping with, like in the same dormitory, told me I was snoring, so like they woke me up several times, and also it's very cold at the moment, so we'll have a long way to go, and especially as with the elevation it's going to be a bit harder to breathe. We most likely are not going to reach Annapurna Base Camp, so what we're going to do is we're going to stop at MBC, which is the stop just before. It's only like 1 hour and a half away, and then around 4 a.m. or like go by night and try to get there for sunrise. That's a long day ahead of us, but got a good breakfast, got a couple of layers on because it's quite cold now, and let's start the suffering. We started the hike with the first rays of sunlight peeking over the mountains, bathing the landscape in a mystical glow. It was quite a sight to behold. After a steep climb, we took a brief stop at the cave, offering a stunning vantage point of Durali, our next destination. From there, the scene looked like a painting, illuminated by the gentle light of the rising sun. We're now above 3,000 meters, yet life still thrived around us. The trail was lined with towering bamboos and an incredible variety of flowers and plants, a beautiful reminder of nature's resilience, even at these heights. As we continued on the trail towards Durali, the journey led us through our first glaciers. We had to be very careful not to slip. There were a few places where it was a bit dangerous, with the melting ice and the raging torrent of water coming from the mountain. The waterfall it was coming from was clearly visible from where we were. Okay, we arrived to Duravit. So that's where we were supposed to stay yesterday, but there was no space. But now we're having a nice break. Took almost 2 hours to get there. And then next stop is NBC. But it's starting to get high, the vegetation has changed. It's really nice. Now the sun is out, it's less cold. So a beautiful day. After a well-deserved rest at Durali, we hit the trail again, bracing ourselves for what was known to be the hardest and steepest part of the entire trek. The rhododendron trees, with their beautiful red flowers, still flourished and paved the way of the trek.
Hi, honey. We take it just from here. After we get,
So are you getting higher with that?
I'm already high,
Are you already high?
1,300-meter high.
As we climbed higher, the landscape began to shift dramatically. Massive mountains emerged before us, towering like ancient walls built by giants. Amir actually told me that most of these mountains had never been climbed, as they were considered sacred. Trying to ascend them, in addition to being very dangerous, was also completely forbidden. The next bit of the hike that followed all the way to MBC was by far the most tiring and physically challenging part of the whole trek. It just kept going up and up. I'm not gonna lie, it was pure torture. But at last, we had our destination on sight, the Machapuchare Base Camp. Reaching Machapuchare Base Camp at an altitude of 3,700 meters felt like crossing into another world. The landscape had transformed dramatically since the morning. Gone were the lush green forests. Instead, we were surrounded by barren slopes, covered in hardy plants like alpine grasses and occasional shrubs. The trees had vanished, and the raw, rugged beauty of the terrain was both humbling and isolating. MBC itself is a special place. On clear days, it offers stunning views of towering giants, like its namesake, Machapuchare, also known as Fishtail. We had seen Machapuchare from afar on the second day of our trek, its fishtail-shaped double summit piercing the blue sky. But here up close it was shrouded in mist. Still, its presence felt almost mythical. Locals believe it to be a sacred retreat of Lord Shiva, and climbing the mountains has been forbidden out of respect for its spiritual significance. The only climbing attempt was in 1957, when a British team stopped just short of the summit, honoring their promise not to set foot on the peak. Since then, it has remained untouched, a rare symbol of reverence in a world where most mountains have been conquered. Despite the sense of accomplishment, we are faced with a tough decision. Annapurna Base Camp was just 400 meters higher in terms of altitude, but we were already exhausted from the steep climb and the weather didn't look promising. To make matters worse, Amir was worried about altitude sickness. We had gained elevation rapidly that day, pushing our bodies harder than we should have, and the risk was real. While we rested and tried to recover, the owner of the lodge approached us with a small treasure to show, In his hand were some strange mushrooms he had found in the mountains, Ophiocordyceps sinense. This parasitic fungus is both fascinating and very valuable. It infects and mummifies the larvae of moths, then grows a stalk-like fruiting body from the host. Found at an altitude between 3,000 and 5,000 meters high, it has been used in traditional Chinese and Tibetan medicines for centuries. Its medicinal properties and status symbol appeal have driven its price to astonishing heights, sometimes reaching $20,000 per kilo. This mushroom has brought both opportunity and conflict to local communities. For many, it is a vital source of income, but the soaring demand has led to overharvesting and fierce competition. Villages have clashed over the access to the grassland where the fungus grows, and in some cases, disputes have turned deadly. We're just staying here for a quick lunch, and then we have decided that we're gonna go to ABC, to the Annapurna Base Camp, to sleep for the night because I want to try to take night photography. So that's obviously if there are any stars, but we'll see. Let's see how that goes. Starting the climb again from Machapuchare Base Camp was far more difficult than we had anticipated. The fatigue from the long day of trekking had caught up with us, and every step felt heavier than the last. To make things worse, the weather began to turn shortly after we left. What started as a light drizzle quickly transformed into a mix of hail and snow. The cold beat into our skins, and the visibility began to drop as the sky darkened. The trail itself was unforgiving. We had to cross a large glacier where every step was a battle against a slippery, uneven surface. The altitude made it harder to catch our breath, and we found ourselves stopping frequently to rest. Our progress painfully slow. What should have been a relatively short 2-hour hike to Annapurna Base Camp stretched into nearly 3 exhausting hours. Towards the end of the hike, we began to hear ominous sounds. A low rumble that echoed through the valley. The distant, threatening claps of thunder. It felt as though the mountains themselves were growling, warning us to turn back. After what felt like an eternity of battling fatigue, harsh weather, and the treacherous terrain, we finally saw it. It appeared like a beacon of triumph through the mist, a place of shelter after such a arduous journey. Completely cold, drenched, and utterly exhausted, we stumbled into the camp with a mix of relief and disbelief. The final stretch had been grueling, but nothing could compare to the overwhelming sense of accomplishment we felt standing at the foot of the Annapurna. When we finally reached Annapurna Base Camp, we were more than ready to sit down and peel off our wet clothes. Every muscle in our body ached from the climb, and the cold, damp air made us long for warmth. We made it! We are at ABC, so I think the last 25% were the hardest of my life. I really had it was only the mind at this point, it was no longer the body. Was stopping every 100 meters. It was, and it started to snow also, so that was the worst possible conditions ever. But we fucking made it. The lodge itself was very Spartan. The sleeping arrangements were basic, with nothing but thin blankets to keep us warm, and the bathrooms left much to be desired. The insulation was practically non-existent, and the cold seemed to seep into everything. Still, we were here, at the foot of the Annapurna, and that alone made it all worth it. Before dinner, I couldn't resist exploring the surroundings, trying to see if I could see the mountain. I walked towards the edge of the camp, trying to catch a glimpse of the famous Annapurna 1 peak. As I neared the cliff, the clouds remained thick and stubborn, hiding the towering mountains from the view. The glacier we had unknowingly walked next to earlier that day was visible now, its black eyes stretching endlessly before me. The sight was awe-inspiring in its own right, but I couldn't help feeling a little disappointed not to see Annapurna in its full glory. Still, the feeling of being surrounded by such raw beauty, even hidden by the mist, was amazing. I held on to the hope that we would be lucky the next morning and get to see the mountains in their true splendor. Until then, all we could do was rest, reflect, and look forward to the possibility of clearer skies. The view from Annapurna Base Camp was nothing short of breathtaking. It was exactly what I had imagined discovering in the Himalayas. The raw, awe-inspiring beauty of the world's highest mountains. From the camp, we had an incredible view of Annapurna South, Annapurna 1, and the iconic Machapuchare. We're surrounded by towering peaks, and the fresh snow from the day before added a magical touch to the already stunning landscape. We lingered there for a while, snapping as many pictures as we could, but eventually we began our descent. The landscape was completely transformed from the day before, with a brilliant blue sky above, and everything was bathed into a new light. It took us a day and a half to descend the mountain, half the time it had taken to climb up. As it was mostly going down, it was definitely easier for us physically. The way down also helped us understand and appreciate all we had gone through and seen in the past few days. I did my best to capture in my mind all these incredible landscapes, hoping to come back someday. We also met quite a few people going down the back of horses, either injured, too tired, or just too lazy to finish the trail on foot. It was indeed easy to get injured going down the mountain due to the accumulated fatigue. My friend Amir experienced it firsthand as he fell and injured his ankle going down. However, with gritted teeth, he powered through the remaining part of the trek. And on our 5th day, at long last, we reached Jinu again, marking the end of our incredible journey. We treated ourselves to some lunch at one of the local restaurants and used the moment to reflect on the unforgettable experiences we had shared as a group.
So tell me, Mark, how hard was ABC?
Harder than I thought.
Okay, what was the hardest part?
First day
First day.
from Juneau to Chumrong. I expected it to be easy because I'd done hiking before, but the heat killed me.
Okay, what was your favorite part?
When I woke up at NBC at 5 o'clock in the morning and walked up to ABC, the sun was shining, it was cold, and the views were fantastic.
How was it, ABC, doing it a second time?
It was very nice.
How was it to do like the last part with a strained ankle?
Not bad. We're still able to come in, it's fine.
What's your favorite part?
Of course, base camp.
Base camp. What was the hardest part?
I think second day.
Second day,
Yeah.
all the way to Himalaya. Okay.
Yeah, all the way.
After lunch, I had one final stop in mind: Jinu's natural hot springs. After 5 days of intense trekking and no proper showers, I couldn't pass up the chance to soak in those beautiful natural hot waters. To reach the hot springs, I followed the trail down through the forest, which took me about 20 minutes. The springs themselves, located next to a river, were absolutely wonderful. While the area could use a little sprucing up, the experience itself was amazing.
We finally finished the ABC trek. It took 5 days total, and that was a blast. That was so amazing. Met so many people. The landscapes were just out of this world. It was an experience that was a bit out of time. So most of the trek, I did not have internet, and with all the exercise, I did not think about it whatsoever. So it was exhausting, but that was amazing. And right now, I'm at a hot spring just next to the start of the trek, and that's the perfect way to finish this video. So hopefully I'll be able to do more of this treks in the future. Definitely thought that was a great experience, and if you have the opportunities, try it. I'm pretty sure it's not for everyone, but that's definitely doable, and it's really worth it. So on this, I wish you a great day. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. And I see you very soon in a new one. Tschüss.